Alright, so first of all, I don't want to give you guys the wrong idea. I'm not a film critic or a reviewer of any kind. But that being said, I guess my first video is going to be a review of the Suicide Squad. I saw this a couple days ago. I'm not going to give any sort of rating system because I think rating systems are sort of a cheat sheet. It's like, okay, what did they think of the movie? Okay, who cares? Let's just see what rating they gave it. But with that out of the way, I saw Suicide Squad, like I said, on Saturday, which was a few days ago. It's Tuesday now. And I thought it was good. And that's about where I am with it. It's not a great movie. It's not by any stretch an amazing movie, but I definitely don't think it deserves the 26% that it's gotten on Rotten Tomatoes. I've seen some of David Ayer's other stuff. I'm not, like I said, I'm not a film buff. I haven't seen every movie. I haven't even seen Training Day, and I know that might be his earliest movie, and I know it's his most famous. But I have seen End of Watch. I saw Fury. I loved End of Watch. I thought it was fantastic. Fury I thought was good. It was a good World War II movie, but it was kind of formulaic. Again, this movie's kind of formulaic, but at the same time, it's also a comic book movie, so you have to sort of expect, sort of a formula of, okay, there's, the heroes, and they have to go get the bad guy and all that stuff, but the way that they set it up, it would have been more interesting if they had spent more time with it. It kind of felt a little bit rushed, and they kind of didn't know what the actual sense of contention was. I don't want to give too much away. I might talk about it in like a spoiler video. I don't want to give spoilers away in these reviews, so it's kind of hard. But there's something, there's sort of a few things that are going on. And that was sort of the issue with Batman vs. Superman, except this movie does it a little bit better. It makes a little more sense, and there's more of a driving force to it in this movie. It's still sort of messy at times. I can tell you that one of the sources of contention is Viola Davis as Amanda Waller. She, in the comics, for those of you who don't know, I don't think this is a spoiler because it's in the comics, she's sort of an ends to a means character. And I had to explain that to my girlfriend, because my girlfriend is like, why is she doing all these terrible things? Isn't she part of the government? Is she a good guy? And I'm like, not really. I mean, yes, she's part of the government. Yes, she has good intentions. The best intentions, you often have the worst outcome. Her character in the film is very much like that. She's a very much ends to a means character. And I thought Viola Davis did a fantastic job of it. I thought she was great. I thought she was mean and nasty and, not a good person at all. And then there's the other source of contention where I would have more liked to have seen a movie of the Suicide Squad forming, maybe doing like a few small missions, and then maybe like rebelling against Amanda Waller or something. That might have made a really good movie. And there were sort of hints of that might be where that goes eventually, and I'd like to see that. But as far as the source of contention they had to fight sort of like a big baddie, and I don't want to give who it is away and, what it is. I will say that you do see them in the trailer. There isn't like a big reveal of any other character, because Batman is in the movie. He doesn't do a whole lot. I kind of like how they had him in there, because he is only in there for a couple of minutes, but you want him to only be in there for a couple minutes. It's not a Batman movie. It's a Suicide Squad movie. Also, within the same realm of that, the Joker isn't in it as much as you would think, especially as much as they have him in the trailers, and as much as they've said, Jared Leto has done this and that, and he sent weird gifts to his co-stars. Like, I think he sent a dead rat to Margot Robbie, and he sent bullets to Will Smith, and so there's all sorts of things about Jared Leto in the press. He's in it enough. I'm going to say that. If you go into the movie expecting him to be in it, expecting it to be a Joker movie, you're going to be disappointed. But if you go into it expecting it to be a Suicide Squad movie, then you're not going to be. If you go into it expecting the Joker to be an element of Harley Quinn, because that's what he is in the movie, and that's what he should be in the movie. This movie is very much about two characters. It's very much about Harley Quinn and Deadshot. And I think the movie pulls off that aspect very well. Showing you what the Joker has done to Harley, what he has done to make her the way that she is, and what has happened to make Deadshot the way that he is, the movie does a very good job of that. And if it had just been that movie, that would have been fine. They did sort of make the other characters sort of cameos in the background, but they also at the same time gave them just enough that you wanted more, but they didn't give you the more. So they tried to find a middle ground, and they really just needed to go one way or the other. They didn't have enough time to tell you about all of them. If they had told you about, okay, this is Deadshot, this is Harley, these are our two main characters, we'll give you a little bit, though not that much, about the other two characters. And the characters that you see this the most with are Killer Croc and Katana. They give you just a little bit of them, and I wish they had given you more. With Diablo and Enchantress, there was that sense of giving you just enough, so that way you cared for the character and you liked them, but they weren't the main focus of the film. They had their own things that they, really needed to do in the film. They went off and did those things, and they were a serviceable part of the movie. That being said, there is an issue that I have with Enchantress. I'm not going to go a lot into what the Enchantress did, because it would give a lot away with what she did in the film. I think that part of sort of making all the characters mesh and making them feel relevant while at the same time not spending too much time on them, I think that part could have used a little more work. The acting was really good. For most of the actors, it was fantastic. Cara Delevingne as the Enchantress was good. Again, there were issues with what I had with her, but it wasn't so much with her, it was with, how the character was, not even how the character was portrayed, just certain things about where they went with her character. But as far as acting goes, she did a fantastic acting job. I've liked Cara Delevingne since I saw her in Paper Towns. Margot Robbie I thought was fantastic as Harley Quinn. She sort of brought this, deranged sexiness, I guess you could call it. So she's very feminine and very girly, and I think that's a good adjective for it, is that she's very girly. And what I mean by that is that she sort of acts like a little girl. She's got like this pout on her face, and she's sort of entitled. She wants things the way that she wants them and kind of screw anybody else, which is the way a criminal thinks, but she's also just nuts. She's crazy, and you really see why she's crazy, and it gives you a good sense of why she's crazy. So Harley Quinn I thought was really good, and Margot Robbie did a fantastic job. The other sort of really shining character was Will Smith. Will Smith as Deadshot was really good. He sort of gave a vulnerability to the character who, in the comics, or at least in the comics that I know of, he's usually just sort of a cold, calculating assassin. That's what he is. He's got no personality. And what I mean by that is he does have a personality, but the personality is, this is my job. I do this for money. You see that Will Smith's Deadshot wants to be that way. There's a line in the movie where somebody mentions something about love or caring or something like that, and he says, you don't do what I do and sleep like a kitten if you allow things like caring into your life, or something along those lines. I'm paraphrasing, but that's sort of what he wants, but that's not what he is at all. If there's leverage on him, for Waller, there's leverage on a lot of them. So, also the leverage is the bomb in their neck. So there's an example of that, of the fact that they all have bombs in their necks, and you know that they all have bombs in their necks. It details it very well. There's like an X-ray, and it shows them injecting the thing into their neck. So that's the main leverage. The characterization for the characters that they focused on is very good. Diablo is another one who's quite good. They do him justice. They do him quite well. They have another sort of point of leverage for him, but it's not just leverage. And when I say leverage with these characters, it's not just leverage. I keep saying leverage, and that's not what it is. It's more the fact that it shows you that they're human. It shows you that they are just people who have bad aspects, and their bad aspects come out more than their good ones. And for a lot of people, that's the opposite is true. You know, everybody has good and bad in them, and their good aspects come out. And a lot of films are sort of about people who are trying to allow those good aspects to come out despite the bad aspects. And that's what this movie is, but it's not good people who are fighting against the bad in them. It's bad people who are fighting against the good in them, and the good wins out regardless, which is an interesting concept. And I wish that they had done more with this film. I thought it was good, but I wanted to see more and also less. One merit that this movie has is that they didn't destroy an entire city. They beat the crap out of the city. They tore it up, but it wasn't a Michael Bay film. It wasn't like Man of Steel. It wasn't like Batman vs. Superman in that entire parts of a city were leveled. So that was a merit that the film had, is that the destruction was on a scale that was sort of easier to stomach. So that was a merit that the film had, that films before it, especially films in this franchise, have sort of taken with and run. I do want to touch on one more thing, and then I'll be done with the review. The music in the film was an aspect that was interesting and fresh, and it makes you sort of pay attention to the movie, but I'm afraid that for some people, they'll pay attention to the music and not the film. I'm not one of those people. I'm one of those people who thinks that a movie is enriched by the music in it, as long as it's not too overpowering, but this music in this film is right on the edge of being overpowering. And there's musical choices that are very, very good and very well placed. But at times the film feels like a music video. So it's sort of a small nitpick for me, because like I said, I can kind of tune that out and pay attention to the film. But for people who can't do that, it might be a little distracting. So those are my thoughts on Suicide Squad. I liked it, like I said, but I think it could have used some work. I didn't love it, but I did like it better than Batman vs. Superman. I liked it about as much as probably Man of Steel, maybe a little bit less than Man of Steel. I actually liked Man of Steel quite a bit. So comment and subscribe and let me know what you think. Again, this isn't going to be a film review channel, at least not entirely. I just thought that I wanted to do a fun video for my first official video, and so I figured, hey, I saw Suicide Squad, I thought it was good. So let me know what you think.